This is a quickie.
So, what patterns from past relationships do you tend to repeat? Let's call it, number one, self-sabotage. All of it together is self-sabotage, is what I would call it. The stuff that repeats and obviously getting the same result with that. But a pattern that tends to repeat in relationships that I can be honest about myself, and obviously it's about living in fear and not living in love, but it is believing that somehow or another she's going to self-sabotage the relationship in some way, form or fashion, and it's just from experience with that. And I was reading recently this book called No More Mr. Nice Guy, right? And definitely remember behaving such like what was mentioned in the book and attracting unhealed people because you're unhealed. And that's the whole thing. And he said a cold ass line in the book when he was like, if you believe that there's an unhealed person around you, believe it's two. Something along that nature. And it's like, yep, that's for sure. Certainly stand firm in my toxicity, whatever it is, whether it's known and unknown forms of toxicity that one would carry. But a common trait that tends to come about is that one, fear of abandonment for sure. Fear of abandonment is something that has definitely lingered in the mind, you know. But it's something to kind of manage, and it's really all in your head. Most of the time it doesn't come out. It's more so what goes on upstairs, and you can feel all the feelings you want, but it's your choice to act upon them. So this is speaking off of, like, I mean, for sure back then I was definitely projecting it outwardly. You know what I mean? Like externally, you were knowing that I was insecure. I was showing my insecurity. I'd say in the last, let's call it the last 5 to 7 years, it's been more of a mental thing, you know, just in the mind. And it's really just an ego. And I say all the time, you got to have ego deaths. You know, if you want to enjoy this life, you must have an ego death and realize that you're not that important. But what I mean by that, you're not that important that you need to use the word against you, as they say in the 4 agreements. You know, number one, you don't use the word against you, so you don't speak ill of yourself. And so when it comes to relationships, a pattern that tends to be repeating is that I can see certain parts of like passive aggressiveness, right? And I know that it's a test to say like mother wound, and even some parts father wound too. But that mother wound to where like you're doing something to get attention. It's attention-seeking behavior, and just recognizing like, oh, that's what that is. Because no one's responsible for your happiness. That is the golden rule for me when it comes to involvement with anybody, not just intimate relationships, but just relationships in general. Nobody's responsible for your happiness. Whatever somebody does was not about you. Even if it was towards you, it wasn't about you. It was about whatever they were going through and how they view that in their mind. When you get upset because someone doesn't do something that you want them to do, you have no control over that. There's nothing you can do about that. The only person that is feeling this is you. You're waiting for the other person. You drunk the poison waiting for the other person to die. Essentially what that is. But what that does, and what most relationships tend to do, is show us the unhealed parts of us that we have. Well, we're still waiting for a parent to fix, but it's not an adult in a relationship with you to fix that. This is all inner work. That is the healer is what's going to do it. It's recognizing it, And sometimes it takes being in a certain situation with someone else for you to get that reflection of yourself. But trust and believe they are not responsible to fix. I don't believe they're responsible to fix what they didn't break. And so it's on you. It's totally on you. So in this situation, it's totally on me to work on that I do the inner work so that you can be a more effective person in society, really. And just remembering to hug your inner child and let them know that you got them, and that don't wait for somebody to come and save you. And if people are causing harm to you, take accountability for it. I'm allowing this to happen. Nothing is happening to me, it's happening for me. And only thing that's happening is what I'm allowing. So if I'm allowing you to disrespect me, if I'm allowing you to disrespect me, I'm allowing you to talk to me a certain type of way, I'm allowing you to treat me in this particular manner, it's on me. Again, you only get to be a victim one time. After that, you are a volunteer to whatever it is that you're encountering. You keep going back to the well. You keep going back to the poison of the well. If whatever you deem to be poison, again, it's all about our view on it. Our view on the subject is really what makes the difference. And it takes a while, man. Like, even just because you take a step up doesn't mean you're still not in something toxic. It just means you're away from what you were, which is still, I believe, progress. However, this thing in life it's all about ascension, right? We just keep rising all the way until the actual ascension of leaving life, leaving this, your heart stops and that's it. It's ascension. You're moving on to something else. So it's like, what level do you want to stay on? How long do you want to spend at that level? And making sure that you put yourself in a position to progress to the next level in a timely manner. But whatever you don't do, the universe will push you. I assure you, things around you, they will force you to move the fuck up in life. And that's just how it goes, man. That's how God, I truly believe that is how God and his universe works. He will find a way, or he or she will find a way to move you to where you are destined to be. You are exactly where you're supposed to be. You know what I mean? Like, no matter what's going on, it might not work on our time, but the way the universe works, it's right where you're supposed to be. There's a lesson to be taught. And when things don't go your way, that's where our entitlement comes in. We feel like it's supposed to be this way, when in actuality, amor fati, accept things as they are. It's not always going to be the way you anticipate it to be, but take it for what it is. That's just really how it goes. There's days where, you didn't want it to rain today, but it rained, but the grass got watered. You know what I'm saying? It washed away whatever off your car. You don't realize these things, you didn't want it to rain, but there was upside in it. You know what I'm saying? Obviously there's downside if you focus on it, but what good would that do? And then there's days where you wanted rain and then it's sunny out. So, or snow, you know what I'm saying? You want it to snow and then the sun is out. So it's just learning to accept things as they are. But in those patterns, like I said, self-sabotage, number one, clear self-sabotage. But expecting a woman to be your mother, and that is part of the mother wound, and we don't realize these things. And, it's not something, for like let's say for instance, my mom is listening in on this thing. It's not for her to feel any type of way. She could only give me what she had, but it's recognizing what we do as humans with these roles that we have in our kids' lives, number one, but in people's lives in general. So with the mother wound, because there was a point in time where you had to rely upon everybody around you for safety, for food, for survival, period. And when you don't get certain things in your upbringing, you know what I mean, it shows in your behavior. And you can see that in a lot of people, when people, attention-seeking behavior all the time. And that's why it's dope to see, like, you can tell a lot by that kid that's loud in the class versus that kid that's just calm. And I don't mean scared calm, like they're just scared to, like communicate with anybody. Like they'll communicate when it's time to communicate, but they're not just trying to be the class clown. They're not trying to make everybody laugh. They're not doing attention-seeking behavior. They're staying right where they are. So I've been deprived of developing social skills, deprived of developing emotional skills, deprived of developing communication skills, and knowing like how to have boundaries. It shows in how we carry ourselves. We tend to put others before us because we feel like we never mattered. And that's never been the case. You know what I mean? It's never been the case. All of us have mattered. You know what I mean? I don't believe any of us are special. We might be unique in our ways, but I don't believe we're special. I equate special to entitlement. But that's for another story. I'm sure I've mentioned it on previous, Ask Rome episodes or previous podcasts. So we're not going to get into it on that. But I will say that we all have something that is very unique about us, but we're not better than the other. We just have our own way. Like we're all made the same yet different, if that makes sense. So you have a skill. It's like literally, it's a yin and a yang type thing. We all fit the puzzle to make things work. I'm not better than you because I know how to have, I know how to, I can speak on, mental health or some shit like that. You may very well know how to install an AC unit more because you've been taught that skill. It's really just a matter of skills. But if we work together, imagine how dope we can be. I teach you mental health. You teach me how to install like the AC thing. Like you become a better person because of obtaining those skills. And bit sidetracked, but getting back on to the whole premise of what was repeated. Yeah, self-sabotaging, trying to turn a woman into your mom, and it's never her place to do so. You're good enough by yourself. You're enough. Man, woman, whoever listening to this, you're enough. You know what I mean? So whenever your ego, your inner child, your wounded inner child really is what it is, like comes into play and tries to act like it's not enough, understand it's operating from the ego. But the soul knows it's enough. And that's the beauty of it. The soul just knows it's enough. And we don't always have that, kind of figured out. But after a while, when the dust settles, understand that you're enough. No matter what's going on, just know your ego is never satisfied. So when part of you feels like you're not enough for this person, you're operating from your ego. And that was another thing. I was very much controlled by, I allowed my ego, because it protected me for so much in survival in my life. When I got into a relationship, or when I get into a relationship, that ego is there to try to prevent me from being hurt. But I mean, as far as pain goes, it's all about how you see it. Because if it's not physical, the pain is mental in your head. It is all about how you look at things. You can perceive things as that person hurt me because they said something. Well, it's all about how you took it. I mean, it's either the truth or it's nonsense. And if indeed what they're saying is nonsense about me, why am I to be upset? If indeed what they're saying is the truth about me, why am I to be upset? I mean, that's just little stoic principles that we all can kind of absorb when we're dealing with people. But our ego's been protecting us for a very, very long time. And if you're 40 like me, your ego's been defending you for a long fucking time based on the things that you got yourself into. And you've been trying to, prove yourself. You've been trying to prove you're good enough for your family. You've been trying to prove you're good enough for your friend group. You're trying to prove you're good enough for your coworkers. And you're just enough. That's it. You don't have to defend anything. And it took me a while to understand that. But in relationships, that's the pattern that I would kind of repeat, is I would believe I wasn't good enough. So I let my ego do some talking. And the ego doesn't always say the most the most effective thing that you can say in a particular situation. But I mean, I think that's part of life. I think that's part of growing, and just learning to be okay with just being still. right? You don't have to defend yourself. And it just took a while to get there, but I'm grateful to be there. Like, you're enough. That's it, man. Really. If it all ended tomorrow, the thing we're worrying about wouldn't matter. We were not created to be our parents' parent. We were meant to be parented. But in survival mode, things don't always go as intended. But it's important to recognize why we do the things that we do, and very, very grateful for knowledge to show this to us, you know what I mean, so that we can try to rectify the situation before it gets too much out of control. Clearly, a lot of us take on a few of us take on more than we can on our plate because we feel like we're not enough, because we were trained to do that when we were kids. When we were coming up, we had to be the ones to take it all in. We had to look out for everybody, and who looked out for us, you know? So there's change that comes with that, and it's learning to forgive everyone. You know what I mean? Forgive everyone for how things went down. They didn't know any better. They did the best that they could, and they projected themselves. So what's important is that we break cycles. And I believe that just by talking about the situations in this, like this forum, you know, talking about what traits tend to repeat is probably I think is an effective way of trying to heal from such. So those are the patterns that I believe I tend to repeat.